Offering hope to homeless people in San Diego, the gift that will help one organization expand and help others get back on their feet.
When I started my career 35 years ago, a lot of the the sex ed curriculum was really around what people would call plumbing. It was really about your reproductive parts and what does reproduction mean, and
teaching kids about the birds and the bees, how San Diego schools are evolving for the Me Too generation.
Dogs spend thousands of hours a year. Across the United States, it's like tens of billions of hours each year are spent by animals, pets, not having anything to do.
Ready to play around? The next high-tech gadget for man's best friend turns mealtime into game time. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Susan Murphy, in for Ebony Monet. The Salvation Army is raising money to build 2 new facilities to house homeless people and their families in San Diego. Today, that campaign got a $50 million kickstart from local philanthropists Ernest and Evelyn Rady. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman has more.
$50 million for homeless services is the largest donation of its kind to the local Salvation Army.
You read about the issues that San Diego faces, and homelessness is number one.
The Salvation Army plans to build 2 homeless facilities with the money. Here in Linda Vista, they plan to level these buildings and build 32 apartments for single families.
Our strategy is to do not everything, but try and make a difference. This money, I hope, with their management, will make a real difference.
Trinda Piercy went through the Salvation Army's adult rehabilitation program and now works here with homeless families.
There's a lot of people out there that want to change their lives and just don't know how to go about it.
Construction on the Linda Vista apartments is scheduled to begin next summer. When it's finished, there will be an additional 140 beds here.
It's not only getting them into the permanent housing, but also getting them the skills and developing the habits to be able to maintain it. How to budget money, savings, cleaning up your credit, applying for housing.
The Salvation Army also announced plans to build a homeless facility for men downtown, but that project still needs funding and there isn't a construction start date yet. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The San Diego City Council today voted down a proposal to change the way it chooses a council president. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen has more.
Well, the council president's job is to run meetings, and the role has limited power in putting together council agendas. Right now, the council president just needs a majority vote from their colleagues to be elected to the post. Councilman Scott Sherman proposed changing the selection of the council president to a rotation system based on seniority. He says the current process is too politicized.
Labor unions, environmental groups, business developments, political campaign contributors, political parties. The phone calls start, the pressure comes, and it doesn't make for a good, conducive relationship.
Sherman brought the item forward after being stripped of a council committee chairmanship earlier this month. The council's 5 Democrats voted down the proposal. Democrats have long held a majority on the council, meaning the proposal would have likely benefited Republicans. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
A special ceremony was held today in Imperial Beach to commemorate the life of Douglas Bradley. Bradley was an Imperial Beach city official who was killed in southern Mexico over the holidays. KPBS Fronteras reporter Jean Guerrero has the story.
It was a warm morning in Imperial Beach when a crowd gathered for a special ceremony.
Here at Imperial Beach, he found a real nice home and a great bunch of people.
They were the friends, colleagues, and family of Douglas Bradley. Bradley was the Administrative Services Director for the city of Imperial Beach until he was fatally shot in a popular Mexican surfing town in late December. He'd gone to Ixtapas-Zihuatanejo to celebrate his 50th birthday.
Thank everybody for coming out.
To commemorate his life, Serge Dodina, the mayor of Imperial Beach and a fellow surfer, helped organize a memorial paddle out.
It's a very, very nice thing that surfers all over the world do, including in Southern California.
More than a dozen people brought their boards to paddle out into the waves and to remember Bradley's life and work.
What really drove him was his love for adventure, his love for the beach, his love for surfing, but his passion for public service. And he made a big difference in Imperial Beach and our capacity to set our finances straight and really make sure we had the resources to reinvest back in our community.
The surfers gathered in a circle to share their thoughts about Bradley's contributions to the city.
Doug was a hero to all of us. He had the right attitude to be in Imperial Beach.
And the reasons for his death.
It could have been any one of us.
Jadina said Bradley's killing could have happened to anybody who travels the world chasing waves.
Celebrate Doug, right?
They celebrated Bradley's connection to the ocean. Then they surfed together. Community members watched the celebration from the pier. Among them was Bradley's older brother, Martin, who doesn't know how to surf but came down from Log Beach to watch.
The lays and the paddling out was just fantastic. I thought it was really neat that there were some stragglers and they just kept fighting and fighting and fighting to get out there. And I thought that was really meant a lot.
Although the reasons for Bradley's killing remain unclear, Mexican investigators arrested a suspect who they say shot Bradley after an argument at a bar. Bradley's loved ones say they're glad he led a fulfilling life.
He traveled the world going to these beaches and surfing, so he just loved that so much. And ending up here in Imperial Beach, not just because it's a great city and a great ocean to be near, great people too.
Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
The man who led the FBI after the firing of former Director James Comey is retiring. Andrew McCabe is seen here at the swearing-in of current FBI Director Christopher Wray. He's also been called before Congress to testify about the Comey firing. President Trump has been a vocal critic of McCabe's role as FBI Deputy Director, bringing up Democratic campaign donations McCabe's wife received during a failed run for Virginia State Senate. The FBI has said McCabe passed all ethics reviews at the time. For the first time as president, Donald Trump will deliver a State of the Union address tomorrow night. Associated Press reporter Kelly Daschle has a preview of what the president is expected to touch on as he outlines his agenda for the year ahead.
After a rocky start to the year marked by vulgar comments and a government shutdown, President Donald Trump will deliver his first address Tuesday night, looking to reclaim momentum for his agenda and convince the country he's on the right track.
America is open for business, and we are competitive once again.
Trump delivers his address to the nation under the cloud of Robert Mueller's Russia investigation and with the lowest public approval ratings of any president at this point in office. So expect the president to shine a spotlight on his successes, touting the recently passed tax cuts and the economy's booming performance.
Our country is doing really well. Our economy is perhaps the best it's ever been.
I'm expecting that this will be a speech which will be focused on victory laps. He will exaggerate the accomplishments and not talk much about the things that have not been done.
Trump will attempt to make headway on an issue at the heart of the government funding impasse, immigration. The president is proposing a pathway to citizenship for 1.8 million of the so-called dreamer immigrants, as well as $25 billion in funding for a border wall and other security measures.
We're going to treat people very well, and we're going to solve a problem that is a very tough problem to solve.
But Democrats are already slamming the proposal, as well as Trump's ability to strike a deal.
Negotiating with this White House is like negotiating with Jell-O. It's next to impossible.
Trump will also preview his long-awaited infrastructure plan, proposing to put some $1.7 trillion into rebuilding the nation's crumbling roads and bridges. The White House hoping to find a rare area of potential compromise during the midst of a contentious midterm year.
That's the kind of thing that could still get some bipartisan support. You know, what can be bad for bringing in a shovel-ready project into your district or your state as you're going into a re-election?
On national security, Trump will praise his administration's progress on fighting the Islamic State group. He'll continue his push for better trade deals and issue renewed warnings about a nuclear-armed North Korea.
I've got to believe we will have at least one rocket man, if not two, mentions. I would expect that Trump is going to tout his Middle East policy, which is getting some acclaim and which, of course, is viewed rapturously by the Israelis. What I don't expect is that he will say much of anything about Russia.
What will be notable Tuesday night is not just what the president says, but who's in the room. Democratic lawmakers, some planning to wear black, have invited dreamers and sexual assault victims as their guests at the address. highlighting the need for immigration reform and solidarity on the Me Too movement. Kelly Daschle, Associated Press.
A growing number of Democrats say they plan to boycott tomorrow's address. Congressman Juan Vargas is one of them. He told KPBS Midday Edition that he will not pretend to support President Trump.
No, I don't want to be two-faced and say I'm going to go there and have a good time, because the States of the Union are fun if you want to be truthful. I mean, it's fun to go to these things, and I'm not looking for fun. I don't want to go there and say, oh, that's a great time. Now, you know what? I can read his speech, and I will read it. I'll not understand it, but I'll have at least read every word of it. But I'm not going to be present there. I'd like to, if he started acting presidential. I'd be happy to go again, but I'm not going to do that until he starts acting presidential and respecting women and respecting people of color and immigrants.
PBS NewsHour will have special live coverage and analysis of the President's State of the Union address. It begins at 6 o'clock tomorrow night here on KPBS.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, the FBI's deputy director steps down amid growing criticism from Republicans and the president. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
For this next story, pretend you're a dog. You have nothing to do all day but eat, sleep, and wait for your human to return home. Well, some students from UC San Diego have started a company that makes waiting a little less boring. They've designed a game dogs have to play to get their food. KPBS reporter Claire Trageser checked it out.
All pet owners probably say it, but for me, it's actually true. My dog, Kima, is very smart.
She earned her Canine Good Citizen certificate and knows lots of tricks.
Kima, wave. Yes, yes. Pause. Pause. Yes. Yes. Stand. Yes. Spin. Yes. Take a bow. Yes.
So she seemed like the perfect candidate to try out a device called the Clever Pet Hub that's meant to challenge dogs' mental abilities.
We're the first ones to make game consoles for dogs.
Leo Trottier started Clever Pet as a UC San Diego PhD candidate in cognitive science. He appears to be the first to have designed a game for dogs that runs on a computer program to adapt as the dog plays.
So the way the Clever Pet Hub works is in the morning, instead of putting your dog's food in a dog bowl, you put it in the Clever Pet Hub, and then over the course of the day, our software teaches your dog by giving him a single piece of his food at exactly the right time when he solves a little puzzle.
Dogs learn to put their nose to a button to get food. Then they learn to only press the buttons that are lit up.
As your dog gets better, the puzzles get harder, and you can see your dog progress.
All the way until dogs are touching the buttons to make their colors match up. Clever Pet uses yellow and blue, colors dogs can actually see. The hubs cost $300. The company won't say exactly how many they've sold, but they had more than 1,000 backers on the website Kickstarter. Trottier says the point is to give dogs tasks to stimulate their minds while they're home alone during the day.
Dogs spend thousands of hours a year. Across the United States, it's like tens of billions of hours each year are spent by animals, pets, not having anything to do, feeling unhappy about it, and people feeling really guilty at the same time.
I certainly feel like Kima is wasting her brilliance by napping all day when we're not home. So we introduced her to the Clever Pet Hub in the company's co-working space. She was, shall we say, extremely skeptical. Oops. Kima is skittish of things with unpredictable movements and loud noises, both of which the Clever Pet Hub have. She refused to take the food from its bowl.
Go get it.
Trottier brought in a coworker's dog, Epi, to show her how it was done. He says dogs usually need a little time to get comfortable with the toy before they start really pressing its buttons. So while Kima didn't figure it out right away, I can go on thinking she's very smart. Claire Trageser, KPBS News.
You can find out more about the device at clever.pet. A strong theme of empowerment at last night's Grammy Awards broadcast. Musicians lent their voices to the growing Time's Up and Me Too movements.
We come in peace, but we mean business. And to those who would dare try and silence us, we offer you 2 words: time's up. We say time's up for pay inequality, time's up for discrimination, time's up for harassment of any kind, and time's up for the abuse of power.
That was the introduction for Kesha, who performed her song Praying. It's about her legal war with a music producer who she accused of sexual assault. Artists wore white roses to the Grammy ceremony to show support for those who are speaking out. The Me Too movement has forced Americans to reckon not only with the pervasiveness of sexual misconduct, but also blurry sexual boundaries and equally hazy communication about sex. It got KPBS education reporter Megan Burks wondering if the next generation will fare better. She brings us this story about sex ed in the era of Me Too. A warning, it includes some frank discussion of sexuality that may make some listeners uncomfortable.
When it comes to Me Too, the sexual misconduct allegations against comedian Aziz Ansari are about as hazy as it gets. There wasn't a rape. There wasn't a hard no from the woman who accused him of aggressive sexual behavior. But according to reports, there also wasn't consent exactly. Blame wasn't easily placed.
She had a terrible night of sex. She had a bad hookup.
If you just had an unpleasant sexual experience, you should have gone home.
But no one's really asking, why didn't he stop?
That was Barry Weiss of the New York Times, Ashley Banfield of CNN, and Emma Gray of HuffPost Women. This is Deborah Hauser.
My guess is they both could have really used some good quality sex education.
Hauser is president of Advocates for Youth, the D.C.-based nonprofit behind San Diego Unified's new sex education curriculum. She weighed in on the Aziz Ansari story via Skype.
The abstinence-only curricula will literally say, many of them, boys are like microwaves. They heat up quickly. Girls are more like crock pots. So girls have the responsibility to slow boys down, right? This idea that, boys will be boys. So yeah, of course he's going to keep trying. And of course he's not going to hear her cues.
The curriculum San Diego Unified adopted last year challenges those ideas about gender and, according to Hauser, lays the groundwork beginning at age 5 for healthy sexual relationships in adulthood.
Starting kindergarten or first grade or second grade, and you're beginning to lay down the concepts, but they aren't really related to sex or sexuality at that age. It's more about how to be a good friend, or what are the characteristics that make someone a good friend. Or even when you're thinking about consent, this idea that you just don't steal a pencil. You would ask for it. You're asking for consent to borrow someone's pencil.
That focus on communication continues in the later years.
When I started my career 35 years ago, a lot of the sex ed curriculum was really around what people would call plumbing. It was really about your reproductive parts and what does reproduction mean? And that's still in the curriculum, but so much of what helps young people to use those skills and that knowledge is really related to other sort of social and emotional skills around communication, around self-image, around body image, around understanding what a healthy relationship looks like and what an unhealthy relationship looks like.
It also talks about different sexual orientations as required under San Diego Assemblywoman Shirley Weber's 2015 California Healthy Youth Act. That law also requires parents who don't agree with the curriculum to opt their children out of sex ed, as opposed to the old opt-in model. Some have, in fact, opted their kids out because the Advocates for Youth curriculum is different from lessons passed in another key way. It doesn't hold back. Here are some of the videos associated with the lessons.
During puberty, your body starts to produce more sex hormones. One of the results is more interest and curiosity about sexuality. Sometimes when you are on the internet, you might accidentally or intentionally end up on a website that features pornography.
San Diego Unified retired that last video after a tense school board meeting in July. Judy Neufeld-Fernandez was one in a long line of speakers both for and against the curriculum.
The stated intent sounds so good to develop healthy attitudes about sexuality. In reality, AFY is putting students in harm's way by promoting porn as normal and exposing kids to graphic content not suited for their stage of development.
I will put anything in these books if it's in the best interest of the child.
Roby Harris penned the go-to book for anxious parents of prepubescent kids, It's Perfectly Normal. She defends the breadth of today's sex ed. Her own book includes a section on the internet and no-holds-barred illustrations by Michael Emberley of the human body and human behaviors, including, yes, masturbation.
I feel that kids deserve and have the right to have the latest, most honest, up-to-date information about their bodies.
Both Harris and Hauser say today's sex ed aims to give kids a broad vocabulary that's free of taboo so that tomorrow's adults can talk openly about what they want and don't want instead of testing boundaries or playing gatekeeper. Harris says her next edition of It's Perfectly Normal will include a new word in the wake of Me Too, harassment. It's due out next year. Megan Burks, KPBS News.
Customers won't see it on their current bills, but premiums will rise significantly for Covered California in the years ahead. The Health Insurance Exchange just put out a new report showing premiums are likely to jump 16 to 30% in 2019. Most of those affected won't be low-income customers who receive subsidies. Instead, middle-class families making about $100,000 per year will see the higher rates. Covered California says rising medical costs and actions by the Trump administration are major factors for the increase. California could soon change the way we bottle our water. A vote is expected this week on a bill that would require all single-use plastic bottles be equipped with a tethered cap. The bottle cap bill is opposed by beverage industry groups. They say companies don't have the technology to enact the changes by 2020. Supporters of the bill say the change is necessary because plastic bottle caps are a major source of litter and pollution. Red flag conditions returned this weekend, with the latest warning set to expire tonight. Santa Ana winds are expected to return, though, later this week. Mark Mancuso has a closer look in tonight's forecast.
It's been a windy weekend here. Winds gusting tropical storm hurricane force. That's Santa Ana, and that's helped propel our temperatures up into record territory for today. Boy, it's been a warm afternoon, but it does look like temperatures will come down a little bit later in the week. Another Santa Ana event returns, but it won't be as powerful. Satellite radar, all is tranquil. A little moisture streaming across central California. Some clouds there, but no precipitation. Tonight, we'll just see a few clouds around, partly cloudy, our low 55. As we take a look at the numbers around the area, Borrego Springs down around 50, and you can see Oceanside at 47 degrees. Tomorrow, another dry day. It should be warm, just not as warm as today, so I don't think we'll get up to that record territory, but as you can see, we're still seeing some 80s here. Look at Alpine and heading up towards Long Beach. And there you can see at Chula Vista, where it's 78. Dry weather, that sticks around through the week, through the weekend, probably into at least the beginning of next week. So we're dry, and we don't see any precipitation in the immediate future. Just pretty much a temperature forecast here at the coast. Next few days, temperatures trend down just a little bit, but we'll see 70s right into the weekend. And as we take you inland, very warm. And then temperatures coming down a few notches by Thursday and Friday. Continuing up across the mountain region, mild. Temperatures hovering in the mid-60s, and temperatures drop just a couple of notches. Winds may pick up a little bit here later in the week. And as we take you to the desert, temperatures will be hovering in the low 80s. No big temperature change here right into the upcoming weekend. For KPBS, I'm Mark Mancuso. Back to you, Susan.
Watch out below. City workers tested out new fire suppression cannons today at the San Diego Convention Center. This is one of the final steps in replacing the aging sails. The 90,000 square foot pavilion's roof has been a city landmark for nearly 3 decades. A scary Sunday night for the pilot of this small plane. Video shot from a passing car shows it parked on the side of the 55 freeway in Costa Mesa after an emergency landing. The pilot told television news stations in Los Angeles that he had taken off from San Diego, bound for Van Nuys, when he had engine trouble. No one on the plane or any drivers on the ground were hurt during the landing. Governor Jerry Brown may be leaving office next year, but his push for electric cars will continue. The governor has signed an executive order outlining a goal of 5 million more electric vehicles on California's roads by 2030. Governor Brown's previous goal was 1.5 million additional electric cars by 2025. Supporters of the plan say it's a good idea, but will be a challenge.
I think it's a great idea. It's a great goal. Can we make it? I don't know. Look how far we've come so far in the clean energy space in just a matter of a few years. When I was speaker years ago, we did the first renewable portfolio standard at 20%. Now we're up almost at 50%. So we've done a heck of a job in California, and I like the push.
The governor's executive order also calls for more than $2 billion to help fund subsidies and other incentives for electric car buyers. Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, a short track to the Olympics runs through Washington, D.C., the stomping grounds for world-class speed skaters. On Midday Edition, a closer look at California's voting system. We chat with Secretary of State Alex Padilla about what needs to change. That's tomorrow on KPBS Radio. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.